So one of the things I'd want you to know about me right away is that this is a conversation. I am not a talking head. So I have a short amount of time with you, and it's really valuable to me, and I want it to be valuable to you. And the thing that really facilitates that is if when you talk to me too, right? So that as we go along, I know what I want to present, but I want to present it in a way that meant something to you. So we're talking about conflict management. I'm assuming that that's happened, both things, that you've had conflict and you've had to manage it. So your individual stories, your content will help. I've made some things up because I work a lot in the visitor industry, and at the same time, you know, if I can solve something for you while you're here, hooray, right? Okay, so let's get started. Somebody remind me to, or if you haven't passed your card yet, just pass them to the middle. I'll let you know when I want you to have these handouts, and then we'll spread them out. So, actually, Amy asked me to do this topic, and I thought, hooray, it's communication. It's one of my favorite topics. So really, to manage conflict, we just need to be better communicators, right? So I'm saying, are you asking the right questions? And I'm going to give you one magic question that I promise you, if you will practice it, in 2 weeks you will call me and go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. These are my two loves, Don and Baxter. And the material that I'm going to share with you today, well, first of all, anybody from Texas? No, okay, oh, okay. Not currently. So one of the things we do in Texas, or at least was true for me, is we get married young, and then we just keep doing it till we get it right. So Don is not my first husband, but I intend for him to be the last one. And in fact, you know, early on, I thought it was like a catch and release program for a while. Just keep throwing them back until you find one that sticks. And I know he would say this too, that the material that I'm going to share with you is the reason that we are still married and that we are happily married most times, right? Doesn't mean that it's perfect. It's work. But the thing about the material that I'm going to share with you and what we have found is if you do the work and you have a tool and you recognize sometimes that you're too upset to remember to use the tool, but you can go back later. Or you can say, I'm going to give away some of these books. We'll actually say, please go get the book. So the first thing I want to talk a little bit about is you and the taking care of yourself before you go into a situation. And then we're going to breeze by some stuff that probably some of you have heard from me in the past and really get to this process that I want to spend most of our time on. The question I want you to ask yourself is, what do you want someone's reason to be for doing what you've asked them to do? Like, why do you want them? Not just because you're paying them, like that may be what comes up first. But if we ask people to do things out of duty or obligation, if they feel guilty or shame, they often feel resentment and anger. Everybody misses an opportunity to connect compassionately, and that's what we're going to be talking about. When people really, truly connect with how their contribution improves the life of others, they naturally feel good about that contribution. Before you can do things differently, you have to see things differently. So any situation that you're walking into, it's natural that you have a maybe predisposed idea about what you want and how things are going to go. And have you ever noticed that you've gone into a situation, maybe it doesn't feel like conflict, maybe it's just one of those difficult conversations or something that you've been putting off, that it goes very different than you thought it would. So what if you spent more time thinking about how you're going to behave than trying to make up how someone else might behave? So one of the things that I've been involved with for a long time is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Anybody familiar with that? So I'm very fascinated by our brains. And I have to say, as I get older, I get even more fascinated about taking care of my brain. So taking care of our brain means we're better the whole day. So what do you think the most important thing you can do is when you get up in the morning for your brain?
Drink coffee.
Drink water. Your brain is like 90% water. You've been asleep, hopefully, for at least 8 hours. So if you get up in the morning and you hydrate, and you know, sometimes they say, if you get one thing out of a seminar, it's worth your time. I think you weren't paying attention if you only got one thing. But if that was the one thing you left with, that you got up in the morning and drank a glass of water before your coffee, you'll be surprised how much different you feel during the day. So if we're going to be credible, if we're going to get people to do what we want them to do because they want to contribute to the bigger picture, then these 4 cores of credibility, and I'm going to go through this really fast, this is like 2 hours worth of material, but underneath the ground is our character. So your character is integrity, it's your intention. That's what people don't necessarily see. But competence is what shows your capabilities, your talents, and the results. You cannot have trust in a relationship without both. So if you know someone who is very good at what they do, they're just not very fun to be around. Or someone who's a lovely person, but not that competent at what they do. Can you really build long-term trust? And if you, whatever position you're in, aren't constantly asking yourself, do I know what my intention is? Am I clear about it? Am I congruent about it? And do I need to develop certain skills? What are my strengths and what things do I want to grow in? To have a purpose beyond profit, this was part of a whole nother thing that we did some years ago on the top 50 companies and how they wow people. I love this. So they have just a short thought. Zappos is delivering happiness. Now, I'm sure most of you have vision and mission statements, right? So might be time to revisit it, right? Does it still excite you when you say it? The World Life Fund is saving the planet. Umpqua Bank, they're, I guess, mostly Northwest. I love this. They want their customers feel like dealing with UMCA was the best thing that happened to them that day. That is a high standard. And then Google says, focus on the user and all else will follow. Hello. Oh, I'm just going to go this. Okay, so when we tell someone to do something, there's a number of ways that our style tends to be. Frequently, we tell people how, right? If you're in housekeeping or you're in property management, you're working with housekeepers, then you say, here's a broom and a pan. Sweep the front door. But how is that different if you tell them what to do? So if I say, you're in charge of assuring that our homes are clean and welcoming, let me know what you think. Let me know how you think the best way is to approach that. So if you're on the receiving end of that conversation, can you feel yourself engaging a little bit more? Most people know how to do their job. Anybody see Collateral Beauty? That is one of the best movies I think that's been done in a long time. The very opening, it's a very emotional movie, but the very opening scene, Will Smith is celebrating with his team. They've had an amazing season, amazing quarter. And so he's giving this great production. And he starts off and he says, I want to know what's your why? Like, why did you get up this morning? Why did you eat what you ate for breakfast? Why did you wear what you wear? Why did you even come here? And most of you probably think, well, because you pay me to come here. But then he goes on to talk about that it's deeper than that. There's more to it than that. And if you get in touch with that, that will drive you. So it goes back to where we started of why do you want people? What is your why? What is the bigger picture that you want everyone to contribute to? So then, if I don't tell you how and I don't tell you what, I tell you why. Our homeowners and guests make it possible for us to provide for our own families. When they feel good about their accommodations, they continue to choose us. Can I count on you to maintain our homes, to assure our homeowners and guests always have a positive experience? Do you feel the different level of engagement? Because now you've empowered someone to go do what they already know how to do. They know what to do. But now they're much more engaged. If you know the why of the people that you work with, when conflict happens, again, you're going to have a much closer place to meet them. I was in the session yesterday about women being better negotiators, and I loved it because she kept dropping Stephen Covey's things like win-win and seek first to understand. And one of the things that reminds me, it's like we think of conflict as you want this and I want this. But really, our goal is to see how close we can get to you getting what you want. That's what seek first to understand means, is I'm first seeking the interest of the other, and I'm going to see how close to their position I can get while still getting what I want. So, does this look familiar to anybody? I love this tool. Okay, so this is from Sam Horn. She wrote a book called Tung Fu. We've covered this in a couple of different things. I want to talk about it in a slightly different way. So when we go to communicate with someone, especially when there's conflict, the words that we use can make a big impact towards the way we want them to go or not. So like instead of using, "You're doing a great job, but," "You're doing a great job, and I'm going to need you to X." "You should have told us next time if you let us know." So these are great tools, and I have these sheets. If you want them, if you want the slides, let me know. What I wanted to make the point with this piece, though, today is that this is a technique. And I'm going to share with you another technique and process. But truly, when you understand what empathy is, you don't need the technique. I'm not saying you won't use this still. I'm just saying it won't be the thing that makes you effective. Sometimes as we use techniques over time and we see their effectiveness, they become more second nature. That's what we truly want. We want to be more effective communicators. We don't want to should on people. We don't want to tell people what not to think about and then wonder why they keep doing it. If I say, "Don't think about pink rabbits," can you do that? No. That's the way your brain works. You can only use the information I gave you. So if I say, "Do remind me to get your business card," then that's where I've just sent your brain. When we talk to people, it's so important. The other thing, and I love that we have some men in the room. Thank you. I feel like as women, we have to do a lot of the work. I apologize. I'm sure you're a very sensitive man and you do your share of the work. In my experience, sometimes in my marriages, let's just keep it personal, I have found that I tend to have to do more of the work for communicating, which means sometimes I have to help the other person understand what they need and what they want. And when they use words like "should" towards me, I have to overlook it. I have to translate on their behalf. Because otherwise, I'm like, "Don't talk to me that way. Don't tell me what I have to do." So if we really want to be effective communicators, we will eventually get to where it feels more like a flow, because we all have conversations like that, right? Where things just work and it's just an easy conversation. And when things are tough and you know what you want, you understand your why, you hopefully will be more willing to do the work, because then you'll see the results. So compassionate communication, I think of as the deeper level of empathy. So techniques are great, but empathy is not a technique, it's an experience. And when you have it, you can feel it in your body. So all 7 habits are based on natural laws or principles. Habit 5, seek first to understand and then to be understood, is based on the principle that we must diagnose before we prescribe. How many of you wear contacts, glasses? How often do you have to have that checked? And then frequently it changes, right? But you can't just make those assumptions. So in communication, we want to understand what's going on. We want to diagnose, because then your prescription works. And if you're just telling somebody what you think is right for them, it may not be, and it may not work. And then you get to do it all over again. So if we first seek the interest of the other person, you got to know what you want too. You get to win too. And the other natural law here is it's the law of reciprocity. So what's your name? Michelle. So Michelle, if we're talking about something and we're not really seeing eye to eye, then if I stop and realize that I'm starting to feel that feeling that goes, it's conflict, but I really listen to her, and I make sure that she feels heard. So I'm like, well, what are you thinking? Tell me, well, so what do you need? So what do you feel? And I do it until I'm sure that she feels. Now, how do I know that she feels understood? Like, how might I know? Body language. The other cool thing that happens is we've built a bridge now. because I've shown her that I care and that I'm interested. So now she is ready. The law of reciprocity says then she will, at the time when she feels heard, she will want to hear me. Because now she's safe, right? Now she's got to say her piece, and so now it's okay. Because if I talk first, if I seek to be understood, she knows that I may be trying to influence her. But once she's got her cards on the table, then now it's safe. And she'll say things like, well, okay, well, tell me what you were thinking. Or she'll say, do you have any questions? Which means, have I covered everything? So, and that head bobbing, that usually body language, and also they'll get quiet. You know, they'll just stop and they'll say, thanks for listening. That means now I get to seek to be understood. Okay, so I need 3 people that want to play big. I need you to come to the front of the room. You don't have to stay here. I just need you to take these handouts and take them forth. So 3 people, right away, wake up, let's go. Warm bodies. So I want you to each take a set of those handouts, and then also I'd like you to start passing those. Just go, thank you so much, ladies. Just go pick up a set of those white handouts and give one to each of the other ladies, please. The volunteers. No, I'm sorry, those go to your team, Sarah over there. No, that whole set. I was unclear. So that whole set, you get one. Take that one. You get that one.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you get that one. Those go out. And who's my other volunteer? Yeah, those get passed out, and you get this too. Again, the reason I'm doing this, thank you very much, I want everyone to play. I think some of the words you're going to see in a little bit are going to get kind of small. So, compassionate communication is also called NVC. It stands for nonviolent communication. I'm assuming that most of you are nonviolent. So, I will do my best to call it compassionate communication. NVC is often called compassionate communication. If you want more information, their website is cnvc.org, stands for Center for Nonviolent Communication.org. I have spent years doing this work and practicing this work. It is life-changing. It's based on the work of Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. It is a specific approach to speaking and listening. It is a tool that very quickly you realize doesn't work if you're using it as a tool. It only works when you understand that compassion is what's working. We're able to express ourselves and hear others while maintaining respectful and empathetic communications. It provides us a way to communicate in alignment with our needs and values. When your values are clear, your choices are easy. Can we say that, please? When values are clear, choices are easy. It helps us resolve conflict peacefully. We get to express clear requests and explore strategies. We can hear difficult messages without taking them personally. It facilitates a natural flow of compassion. We're going to focus on 4 areas: observation, feelings, needs, and request. So that's why I wanted you to have that card handout, so that at least you're leaving with those 4 steps. I'm going to go over this alienating conversation pretty quickly because our time disappears so fast. So, alienating conversation basically means we think we're being honest, but really what we're doing is blaming. It's like, what is that? The truth will set you free, but at first it'll piss you off. So, these words guarantee that you'll have resistance, that push-pull thing that happens, and evoke emotions in people that maybe you weren't trying to do. It means that we're telling other people what's wrong with us. It's that judgment thing, or maybe we're judging ourselves. It's words that imply wrongness, like should, good, bad, right, wrong. Even words like appropriate or inappropriate are judgments. It labels others: stupid, loser, racist. It minimizes choice and respect for others, for their choice. Demands. One of the things that I think is the biggest thing that happens first when you use this information is you realize that we have been making demands. And now we're going to make request. And it'll seem like a subtle difference at first, but it will be a significant difference. How many of you have teenagers? Anybody? Couple? Anybody still have little kids? Some of you look young enough to still have little kids. Okay. You're going to love this. Alienating words deny our own responsibility. I had to. The boss said so. It's company policy. It's just the way it is. All right, who's ready to play big? Say, I am, I'm awake. It's not even lunchtime yet, okay? So we're going to use 4 steps for compassionate communication. It's perfect that we have a camera in this room. So the first step is sometimes the hardest, right? How do you start that difficult conversation? How many of you have something going on right now that maybe you would have called it a conflict, but there's something going on that's not quite resolved? Maybe it's a lot of us, right? Maybe there's a conversation you haven't had, you've been putting it off. Why do you put that off? What do you think makes us put it off? We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to create conflict. We think it'll go away. Maybe we feel like we've said it, but it isn't, nothing's changed. Let me tell you, hope is not a strategy. And the amount of energy, going back to the way our brain works, the amount of energy that you are expending not doing it is sucking the very life out of you. So later this afternoon, I hope you join me for the law of attraction, and I'll talk to you even more about every moment of our thoughts. Everything in our energetic being is so crucial to being effective and to being happy. So we're going to start with a clear observation that you can't argue with. So the video camera in the room will record exactly what is said and what it sees today, right? So if there were any question, we could go back to that record. Even if it was something, say, no, that's not what you said. What you said, it would have recorded it. So phase 1 is you make a clear observation. It's only what the camera would have recorded. I was sitting at my desk this morning at 9 a.m. You walked in the door, I looked at the clock, it was 9:30. Camera would have recorded all that. If you say, you're late, you're always late. Why are you always late? How hard is it to be on time? No, you always start with a neutral ground, right? Because now we can all agree, at least so far, on what's going on. Then, this will be a little awkward at times, but you're going to share what you feel. So those of my volunteers that you have the bigger sheets, so you have on the top, it'll say feelings when our needs are met. Where are my volunteers? Sarah, what was your name? Lauren. Lauren. And where's my other volunteer? And your name, please? Krishana. Krishana. Okay, so the front page where it says feelings are met, just move that to the back. Because when your needs and feelings are met, yeehaw, right? We're talking about when that's not happening. You're going to say, I feel X because I need. You're going to identify what is it that you need. And then here's the magic question, write it down. Would you be willing? See, I can say, can someone get me a glass of water? And chances are good that somebody will. But if I said, Krishan, am I saying it right? Krishana, would you be willing to get me a glass of water? It just feels different. Chances are good someone's going to do it anyway. But when you're on the receiving end of would you be willing, the other thing is you'll start to become aware that you have been making demands on people left and right all the time. And maybe you think because you say please and thank you, that makes it okay. It's still a demand. Would you be willing? I can say, I could do that later today. I could say, I'm not willing to do that. That goes against everything I believe. I won't do it. But usually when you're asking somebody, would you be willing, based on what you need and how you feel, you are engaging them in the bigger picture. You're giving them a chance to contribute to also getting what they want. Okay, so I'm going to share you a couple of examples, and then I hope you're going to give me some more. These are the words, well, those aren't too hard to see. That word E doesn't, I've looked at that 3 times and not fixed it. So these are feeling words when our needs are not met. and you see some bigger categories like afraid, angry, annoyed, dismayed, disgruntled, disconnected, confused. One of my favorite ones is, instead of saying confused, I'll say, I'm bewildered. Now that's much stronger. If I say, I'm confused about why you were late every day this week, you're immediately going to think about what happened. But if I said, I am bewildered, that again, I'm sitting at my desk at 9 o'clock, and at 9:30, then you walk through the door. Discombobulated is one of my favorite ones to use too. So I'm going to give away 3 books, and also this information is on that website, cnvc.org. You can download the sheets like our volunteers have. More words: embarrassed, fatigued, pain, sad. Has somebody ever said to you, even seems like we'll name other people's emotions. We'll say, you seem so depressed. And maybe you don't really feel depressed. Maybe that's not what you would call it. Maybe you're just, excuse me, overwhelmed. Maybe you're feeling a little vulnerable. So these words help you identify what's really going on with you, because most of us go between we're either happy or we're not happy. There's a whole lot in the middle. And when you understand where you are, then you can better communicate what's truly going on with you. Even we start to understand that some of what we think are feelings are not feelings. So have you ever felt betrayed by someone? Most of us have had that experience. So if you can add the words by you, that's not a feeling. Think about that for a minute. When you called it betrayed, what was really going on? Pardon?
You're talking about what's internal.
Right. Yeah, so like maybe that's what you said. You betrayed me, I feel betrayed by you. But what's deeper than that? What is that really like? Is it sad? Is it hurtful? Does it leave you feeling leery, maybe about that person? Our need words are more things like communication, connection, honesty, peace, physical well-being, play, autonomy, our ability to choose, connection. One of the key people in my life that led me to NVC, she'll never call and say, I miss you. Like I say that to people, I miss you. She'll say, I'm really wanting to feel connected to you. I'm calling because I really want to connect with you. I stop everything, right? And she'll say, would you be willing to call me this afternoon? Absolutely. If she said, I miss you, then I might say, oh, I miss me too. I miss you, I'm busy, right? But if she says, I'm really needing connection with you, would you be willing to call me this afternoon? You guarantee I'm making that call. So I want to put this together more now. So this is the time. So if I said, when you arrive at work 45 minutes after your scheduled time, so the clock recorded, you're supposed to be here at 9 o'clock, came in 45 minutes later. I feel frustrated because I need your cooperation in running a successful office. Would you be willing to make the necessary changes and arrive on time? Or maybe it would be, would you be willing to discuss what changes need to happen to help me better understand if you're consistently late? I've got one more, and then hopefully we'll have a time. So housekeeping, this is one I hear a lot. When I see you have been called back on 3 properties this week, now think about how the camera recorded that. That's my observation, it's my neutral statement. I feel aggravated, or troubled, or flustered, annoyed. Like somebody, what else might they feel? Somebody give me those that have the sheets. Annoyed. Sarah, what else might someone feel?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed. Irritated. I need consistency and competence. You also need cooperation. Okay, you're starting to get the gist of this. What else do you need? reassurance, reliability, agreement, cooperation. And see, agreement, that's a great one too when you come back to would you be willing? So then if I say I need consistency and competence, would you be willing to work side by side with Mary or whoever to bring your skills up to the level our homeowners and visitors expect? Can that person say no to my request? Be pretty hard. And that is why it's a magic question, because would you be willing almost always gets a yes. Because you've spent the time to go, this is what we can agree is happening. No blaming, no making stuff up. This is only what the camera would have recorded. We can both say, yep, that's what happened. I feel, I need. Now earlier when I was talking about sometimes as women, we have to do a lot of the work. I have a client, I love her. We spend about 45 minutes to an hour on the phone when we're together. I swear we spend the first 25 minutes digging, right? And then finally our time's almost up and she's finally telling me the information I was looking for. It's like pulling teeth. And she's a dentist, so that fits somehow. So I always have to make that joke. But then the real good stuff comes out. We have been working on NBC and she really wanted it to work with her husband, right? She wanted it to work at the office too, but she really wanted it to work with her husband. She had a great experience where I said, just leave the book out. Leave it out for all weekend and just let him walk by and see it on the table. And then at some point when it feels, comfortable, say, I've been doing this work, I've been practicing, would you be willing to read this book? And then we could talk about it. And he went, okay. And she said, no, would you be willing to, cover to cover, take your time? It could even be next weekend, right? So he did, and they had an amazing conversation. She felt like she got to say what she felt, what she needed. And then you want to know what he said, and I'm not picking on guys. This could have been the other way around. He said, this is going to be great at the office. He manages people, right? So this is going to be great at the office. So I said, that's still a win, because it means he's going to practice. You've got him engaged, right? So now they're still working on some things, and now he will say to her, go get the book. Or he'll call her on it and he'll say, well, that was a demand, that wasn't a request. So it takes practice. And sometimes you will feel like you are doing most of the work because it's like win-win. It's a magic question. How many people does it take to play win-win? It only takes you. It only takes one. You have to know what the win is for you, and you sometimes have to do the work to figure out what the needs, what the wants, what the feelings are, what is the win for the other person. And when you discover that, and you have the courage and competence to go for what you want, then both people win. That's what win-win is. Win-lose means I'm going to get what I want. Lose-win means I'm going to let you have your way, and I'll just roll over. But win-win means both people win. It doesn't mean both people are always at the same point or at the same willingness. Would you be willing to just talk with me about this? That's a request. Okay, anybody got any juicy content for us? Tell me what's going on out there.
So,
Yes.
I'm the quality assurance manager of our company, and we're very small. We all kind of help each other out, we work together. And I have one girl in reservations who refuses to be a team player. And so she fights back, and I usually end up dropping it. But she has started going above and calling our boss, who owns our company, we're a small company, and telling him why she thinks, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. So I ended up just doing it anyway. But I can't resolve this with her, and now it's become an issue where I have a problem because of this conflict that she won't play, and I don't know how to fix it.
So what do you need?
I need her to be a team player.
Does that sound clear, like we know how to do that? It doesn't to me. I know what it means for me. So how would that look like? What do you really need from her?
So I'm not in the office hardly, about 20% of the time. I'm out in town usually. If I need something from her, it's, hey, can you call a guest, or can you transfer me to this owner, or can you make this phone call? That's the response I get every time. That's not my job.
Okay, there's the clue right there. So the person, can we just call her Mary?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does Mary need? A new job. Mary clearly needs a new job. Mary needs a better, clear understanding of what her job is, right? That is what she needs. How does Mary feel when somebody says, just do it, it's your job? And she goes, no, it's not. How does Mary feel? Overwhelmed.
Getting barked at, demands.
Being demand, right? Yeah. So if we get Mary on board, a couple things are going to have to happen. One, she needs to be clear about what her job is and is not. And she's probably trying to discern that by calling, which is not pleasant for you, I'm sure, or the person on the other end of the phone for that matter, right? So, but clarity is power. So what if you said, I really need your cooperation. I feel frustrated when I hear that you've called Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so again. I feel embarrassed when my boss calls me because you have called them. Would you be willing to sit down and let's clarify, let's find out what makes you want to be part of this team? Would you be willing to help me understand how I can better clarify what your job is? And also, maybe there's some things that Mary's good at that she wishes she was getting to do and she's not. So maybe there's just something more expressive or creative that's true in her nature, and if she were allowed to do that, here comes the win-win. She would be willing to do these other things that are in her job description. Oh, our time's going so fast. One more question, comment? Yes.
Our team was just having this discussion at the table earlier, and regarding guests who have an issue that call in, and they're male guests, maybe it's generational, maybe it's cultural, and they kind of get a sense that they'd rather get the answer from a man. And so either it's our own insecurities about that we're not confidently delivering the information, or we feel like we know the message, we know what needs to happen, maybe they want a discount that isn't justified, something like that.
Right.
And as soon as we get our boss, who's a man, on the phone, great, all done. It's the exact same answer.
This is the story of our lives, isn't it, ladies? Yeah, and I think it's cool to be in a women's summit and we're lovely to have men too, but it's not to be women only, but to be women dominated, where we can have these conversations where say, this stuff happens. So how do you feel when that happens?
Frustrated.
Yeah.
Shortchanged.
Yeah. And what do you need? What do you need from that guest? And this could be just a one-time thing, right? It's not like you're going to build a long relationship. But what do you need from that guest?
I need him to understand that I am the end decision maker on this topic.
Need to see and be seen, to be understood, right? So, and then what could the request sound like? See, this is where it gets tricky, right? And this is where it usually, sometimes you feel like you didn't make it anywhere because I told them what I felt and I stated what I needed. You have to work on the request because you want that request to be a yes. Okay, so this is the perfect thing to finish with, and we're going to quickly run out of time and somebody's going to come through that door and want this room. So what could the request be? So if I say, okay, Marvin, I hear what you've said. Let me make sure I'm clear on what you are saying. So first, I'm going to seek first to understand. I'm going to make sure that the guest feels that I've heard their needs, their request, but know what they're. And he says, yeah, that's it. So would you be willing to let me give you what you want? That sounds a little weird. Don't say it that way. Just joking. Would you be willing to let me take care of this for you? My position is X. I'm feeling a little frustrated because I really want you to be happy. I want you to have a great experience with us. I need to know that you're going to be satisfied and that your needs are getting met. Now let me make sure, I understand what you want. So if I could give you what you wanted, would you be willing to take it? right? And I think sometimes as women, we don't want to sound too harsh. Like it goes back to that voice tone and tempo. But oftentimes it's not always that male-female thing. It's men tend to be direct. No nonsense. They just say it. And that's it. And sometimes as women, we say it, but then we explain what we were thinking about. And then my husband is a golfer. And so in golf, you know, they have those signs that say, "Quiet, please." He has one of those. So sometimes just clear and to the point. Here's what you've asked for. Here's what I can do. And that's it. Would you be willing to do? And if he says, no, I also want, then you have to start all over again. And you can say, I'm feeling really overwhelmed here because I've stated what I can do, and that is it. Right? That is it. You can't make everybody happy. We want to. And as women, we really want to make everybody happy. And that's exhausting. Okay? It is exhausting. And I don't suspect this is on your team, but I see teams where there are people that do need to go. They do need to find a different job. And it's okay. It's okay. Okay. So send business cards at the end. I'm going to remember the giveaways.